Going to be joined by legends, and you can see this movie premiering tomorrow on HBO Latino at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and in Latin America starting on Sunday. So please support this film. You know, as Latinos, we need to show up and prove that we are hungry to see this type of media and content out there. Like, we need to support our fellow people. So I'm very proud and very honored to be here supporting these two filmmakers tonight. So please join me in welcoming Ruben Blades and Abner Benang. Come on up. The hot seat. Hi guys. How are you feeling tonight?
Good, thank you.
Doing good. Well, I think you can tell by the response of the audience that they really took to this film, and I was telling Abner Ruben before we stood up here that watching this film, it stays with you, it resonates with you beyond just the first watch and the second watch, because you carry what you've done in your life through all of our lives and in our experiences. But before I get into the themes of the film, Abner, I wanted to ask you, why did you pick Ruben as your subject?
Yeah, why? Because he was there. He was close to me. He's from Panama. That's actually one of the reasons. When I finished my first film, Chance, a comedy, I wanted him to see it because I didn't know any filmmakers in Panama, and he acts in Hollywood, so he's connected to the filmmaking world. And when I went to show him the film, he started telling me his own story, as if I didn't know who he was. For like 25 minutes, he gave me his bio, and then we talked until 3 in the morning.
And we drank.
And he started singing songs that weren't recorded yet. And all my instinct as a filmmaker is to be anxious about someone interesting talking in front of me, and I'm not holding a camera. So after many of those sessions, I said, okay, let's start. I can't come here, listen to you sing, and tell me all these stories. Any story that he starts, like, I was with Celia Cruz, and then we talked to Tito Puente, and I'm like, okay, please let me film this,
Save it for the camera.
Yeah. And then Sting said that this, and Paul Simon came to me, and I'm okay, I need to start recording. And that's, it started in a very organic way. It was a relationship, and I saw that if I could somehow, I had two goals, I think. One is to bring that closeness I felt with him as a friend to an audience, and the other was to somehow try to generate the same kind of soul that any or many of his songs have, and that have impacted me. I wanted to have some of that heart in the film. I had those two things in mind when we started. It was more a kind of like a feeling and not an intellectual thing.
Yeah, and I definitely think that comes through. And I know, Ruben, you've said on multiple occasions that you are a private person. So did you have any hesitations when it came to agreeing to do this documentary?
I did. But then at the same time, there was a previous film that was done by Robert Muggy in 1985, when I was just coming out of Harvard Law and graduated there, and then he had become interested in also what we were doing with Say del Solar at the time. So I felt, as far as music, the music and the talent that we have, we really don't have a very much of a exposure worldwide to the levels that I think we deserve. And I'm talking about the Latino community as a whole. So I said, okay, let's do that. But as you say, I'm private, and I don't like people following me. I don't like to pull attention upon myself. And it's a big contradiction in my life, because I chose 3 types of work: music, acting, and I've been involved in social work, politics, that the 3 demand that you're in public, that you expose yourself. I don't know exactly how that happened. When Abner said to me, I want to do this and whatnot, the biggest thing I think that made me consider it were there were certain things that I felt that I had to explain and do by myself, do them now. I had a lot of friends. I mean, once you get to my age, every other week somebody you know dies. And you start really thinking about the fact that you have more past than future. And that you have to start sort of organizing whatever time you have left and leave certain things clear. And one of the things that I wanted to leave clear was the situation with my son. I really wanted to do that personally, and I wanted him to be, my son also to be involved, because this is something that I, for years, said it wasn't true, and then it was. And I felt that needed to be presented publicly, responsibly also, but also to give him an opportunity to come forward. So I thought this is something that deserves to be done now. And Abner, I've seen him. I've seen his work, and I've seen his soul, the kind of person he is. So I figured, it's good. We'll do this. I want to say that he was kind enough to name me co-producer or something.
Yeah, you got producer credit.
But I want to make sure you know that I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet.
It's your life.
I haven't seen it yet because I don't want people to ask me if I liked it. It's not for me to like a documentary about me. This is what he does. I trust him. I will see it, but I feel that no, I will, because people think, oh, he's angry. He doesn't want to see it. No, I said I don't want to see a 1 hour and a half of looking at me. No, I can't do that.
Well, I know the audience definitely enjoyed the hour and a half looking at you.
Because it's like, yeah, but it's like people because like when I'm on the show, I'm playing, and people say, we love you, and I say, that's because you don't live with me. so it's a good thing for people to sort of get a sense of it. But it was all Abner, and I'm grateful for him for his consideration.
Well, you kind of segued into the next topic, which was right in the beginning of the film, you captured Ruben saying that you did realize that you had more life behind you than ahead of you, which I think, to the point that you made, is something that we don't think about often. So in a society today, especially when we are so focused on feeling invincible, forever young, like we're always going to live another day, how did you come to terms with that idea that you don't have that much time, and how did it also inspire you?
I think that, again, the segment with my grandmother, the story is there, right?
Right.
So, okay, so that was when my grandmother told me, explained to me what a burial was in a cemetery, the people go to a cemetery. I thought about it, and she said, we're all going one day to leave this world, basically. That was news to me. I went, really? And then I started thinking, and I thought, oh, so you're going to go one day? And she said, yes. And then she said, and so will you. And I think from that moment on, you begin to realize that there is a certain, not urgency, but there's a certain time constraints that you should start considering, even though you're a kid. And I used to be sick all the time when I was a child, so I thought that I was going to die very young. I always did. Any new disease that showed up in my neighborhood would go straight to my house. Get inside of me. So that's perhaps one of the reasons why I've tried to do so many things so quickly. I always thought I was going to die when I was 35. Then that didn't happen. Then I thought, okay, I made a mistake, it's 45. That didn't happen. So I figured, okay, so it's not going to happen. Well, it's going to happen whenever it's going to happen, but it will happen. So in the interim, the other thing that gives you the sense of urgency are the friends that go. Paco de Lucia was a wonderful musician, a guitar, perhaps the best flamenco guitar player. Paco and I were going to do a record. And I was really looking forward, and so was he, of doing this album. And then he just dropped that all of a sudden. And that was another wake-up call, because you go like, well, you feel good and everything is fine, but then all of a sudden, So that made me understand that I have to get organized and try to do as much as I can before the inevitable occurs. And that's what I've been doing.
Yeah. And a part of that being organized is recognizing what your purpose is, and that's like obviously one of the themes in the film. So Abner, I want to toss it to you. Do you remember a point in your life when you realized what your purpose was, and was it easy for you to step into that role?
No, it's hard to say that one can. At least in my case, I don't think I can give an honest answer and say I found my purpose in life. I think I'm still looking for it. I do feel that urgency that Ruben is talking about, and that very much resonates with my own experience of not waiting for it to be too late to try and do the things that you feel you have to do. I don't know that there's one mission I have, but I do know what feels right, and I do know when I'm off course, and you know, for example, this documentary felt right. It's, you know, I, con todo el respeto, I could have chosen, you know, a money maker, but you know, this, you don't, but that's also Ruben's career, and how, you know, you do things that you feel are right for you, and it doesn't have to be what makes the most money or what makes you the most popular. It's just something you feel is there and it's calling you in a sense. I don't know, it's a hard question. Give me another 10, 15 years.
Or
Ask Ruben.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, tossing it to you, did you ever find a moment in your life, you know, in the film you say that your grandma used to tell you that you've been placed on this earth for a reason and you're going to do big things. Did you find out what that purpose was right away? Did you even understand what she was saying, or when did it all lock in for you?
I did not understand what she was saying, but I felt that what she was basically telling me was you need to try to contribute to what you have found and try to make it better, basically. And you can do that if you have the tools to achieve such an end, and for that you need to study, and for that you need to be a good person. Those were the sort of the guidelines. But the interesting thing that I reflect on now is that I was never, at least I don't recall ever being concerned about what will my life be. I liked a lot of different things. And there are things I still like that I wish I had more time to go. I'm very interested in archaeology, and I never really followed that. I'm very interested in paleontology. I never followed that. So, you know, but I always felt that I was going to contribute in some direction, somehow. I was going to do that, and I prepared myself for that.
Yeah. Well, I think too, we all have the same 24 hours in the day, 365 days a year. What advice would each of you guys give maybe someone who isn't utilizing their time in the right way, now that you have both come to a point where you're like, I'm going to choose the things that feel right, I'm going to choose the things that I want to do?
I mean, when people approach me, many people approach me, and I'm right now academic in residence in NYU, the university. I speak to a lot of students there, and I get all kinds of questions. And one question I make is, why do you want to be successful? Why do you want to be successful? And that's very important, a very important question, because the answer to that question is going to determine what kind of sacrifices are you willing to make, what type of challenges you're willing to accept, what type of person you want to become. And a lot of times we talk about success, we look at the exterior of the success, you know, but the success has an interior. also. We very, very seldom do we examine the interior of success.
What does the interior of success look like?
It's very, it tastes very difficult, bad, because it's made of disappointment, of failure, of hopes that did not materialize. It's sweat, blood, and tears. I mean, it's not just. And I'm talking success in terms of not somebody who won the lottery, but something that you work for and you strive for. And most of the time we see the result, but we don't see the process. So I tell them, I ask the kids, the younger people, that why do you want to be successful? And my idea was, of course, at some point you also want to impress your mother, or you want to impress your father, you want to impress your friends, you want to impress a girl that told you get lost. You want to do certain things to show what you can do to other people and show them that they were wrong or not. That's just a part of it, I guess. But there's got to be something more. And for me, it was the idea of creating a better situation, whatever it was. Trying to take an idea and make it better, move it forward. And then destroying any stereotype in the middle of it. Or you are a woman, you're not supposed to do this, who says? Or you're a man, you're not supposed to do that, who says? You're from Panama, you can never be this, who says? That kind of message. And I went ahead with to try to destroy that notion of stereotype.
Abner, as a filmmaker, how do you find that there are stereotypes that you want to destroy through your stories, being a Panamanian director, Latino director?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's my main objective, but it's sort of something that happens on your way to telling a story from your own point of view and not obeying, let's say, some structure or convention. And I do like to be at the edge of conventions or outside of them or breaking as much as I can. I mean, I haven't been as bad as I wish I would be. I would like to make films that I can't show my children or my parents. I would like to make films that really say, my friends would say, I think he went a little crazy. But I haven't done that so much. But it's coming, as I grow older. Yeah, so I think it's important to get out of your comfort zone also, to do things that make you question what you're doing, and I think Ruben has done that a lot, to step out of what, I'm good at this, so I'll step outside of that.
Absolutely. Now, one of my favorite parts in the film was when you actually were describing that you shouted out all of the countries in Latin America at the end of some of your performances to bring out a feeling of unity and strength between all of us. So do you feel that today especially it's important for Latinos to feel unified as one, and what power do we have in that?
Well, it's not just we should all, as human beings, I mean, no matter where we are and what nationality we're from, I mean, we should understand that we all are sharing the responsibility of being alive and being sharing the same space. With Latin America, the thing was that I felt that there wasn't enough emphasis being made on the things that we have in common. And so when I signed the roll call, it was just to make it clear that in my view, we were all the same. We were all in the same family, members of the same family. And I even began to include the United States in some other times when I would make the roll call, because I am here, and you don't want to separate yourself from everybody else. You just want to create what everybody's been talking about, the common ground issue. But I think that Latinos, we have a huge difficulty in that, because we're so varied, our composition. You can't really talk about a race You know, we have black, white, Oriental, Chino. You have Jewish people, Catholic, Protestant. You have, you know, it's not that you can't say, oh, Latino is this. You know, it's like no. So it's more difficult for us to perhaps at times to understand that we're all coming from the same culture, the same background, and that is a problem. The other problem is that we tend to act like tribes. You know, you have the Puerto Rican tribe, you have the Mexican tribe, you have the Cuban tribe, the Central American tribe, South American tribe, Dominican tribe, Mexican tribe, and then because we don't speak as one, our common problems and our possible common solutions are very hard to be appreciated and brought forward as an argument of a whole group of people. We have right now how many people? We're the biggest minority group right now in this country, and it has taken us a long time to sort of understand that we need to be more organized in order to be respected, politically speaking. And I think that slowly it's happening. But the idea, and I will insist on that always, is that these problems that we have are problems that we created, and these are all problems that we can solve. I do believe that. And having participated in government as I have, I know it can be done. But we need to develop the will to do that. And the will is the thing that I don't see, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's all about the choices we make moving forward. I have 2 more questions for you guys, and then I'm going to open it up to the audience. So start thinking about what you want to answer or what you want to ask. So I'm going to toss this to you, Abner. Being a storyteller professionally, well, both of you guys, I want you to answer because you're both storytellers. But what stories do you think today's Latinos are entitled to tell in their own lives?
I think the best way to be Latino is to be whoever you want, and in the sense that you're not supposed to tell one kind of story or the other. You can tell any story you want. I mean, if you want to support the movement or a political issue about Latinos in the U.S., for example, then you have to be specific with that. But I think it's the freedom to feel like if you want to make a love story, you're entitled as well. And if you want to make a story about South Beach, you're entitled as well. You know, about a smile you saw, anything. I think that's when you really are in power, is when you feel like you can do whatever you want with your art. And I know there's a responsibility to tell, because, you know, if you would ask the same question to someone who already feels at home, and like, you know, you ask an Italian, he's not going to say, I need to tell Italian tales, you know, anything, or someone, you know, in the U.S. or in any country where it's not a minority. So I think that's where we need to strive to go, to feel free to say anything we want, and it's valid.
I love that. What about you?
No, again, the stories, it's an interesting situation. And to this day, some people will say that I'm a political singer, and I'm not. Because a political singer is ideological singer. And if you're an ideological singer, then you're just doing propaganda. So, but why do they say that? Because I write songs that have to do with the city. And the songs that I write about include the effects of politics in our lives. But it's not that I'm writing a political song, that I'm going to write this political song. No. I don't believe in ideologies to control us and tell us this is what you're supposed to think and this is what you're supposed to, either right or left. I don't care about that. I think that we can and we do recognize the basic forms of decency and the basic forms of respect for people. We should develop those senses. Not every single song has to be about escape. I think songs also should confront issues. I think that they can offer proposals. Siempre hablan canción de protesta, ellos también canción de propuesta. You know, it's not just protest, it's also proposing. Why don't we do this? And the other thing is like, and this is important, when I was writing, I wasn't writing for a specific neighborhood. I was writing for everybody, which is why the songs survive. If my songs had been done like commercial songs, like love songs or 2-3 minute songs with the themes that have been proven to work, maybe those songs would have disappeared. Pedro Navaja was written in 76. They're still singing it 43 years later. A new generation picked it up. And the same thing with the Elena or El Cantante or Padre Antonio. And that's because the songs resonate because they were written honestly and they had to do with what we experience, our experiences. They were not done for commercial purposes. Where the record labels at the time, they didn't think that was possible. They thought that people just needed to be presented with formulas so that they could escape reality. And that's where they were wrong. And so I continue to write about experiences, about urban reality. And now I'm moving in a different direction because now I begin, as of, I have my email is rubenblades.com and not my email, my page, one of my web pages that my friends got it. I had no clue about those things. And I have a bunch of friends of mine who, they help me with that. We're doing now, we're going in a direction called Mixtura, which is we are doing records that are going to put together a whole bunch of different forms of music. And which is what I started doing rock and roll when I was a kid. I mean, that's what I started with. I guess many of us did at the time. So you continue to explore, you continue to do things as long as you can. Mm-hmm. And then when I no longer can be effective doing what I'm doing now, I will move and do something else.
Absolutely, and that will be a part of your legacy. So
Absolutely.
Quickly, before we turn it over to the audience, legacy is the theme tonight. How can the everyday person find what their legacy is and work towards it? Just a few words.
No, you go. I'm just mesmerized by your hairstyle.
Especially with the wind,
You shouldn't
Very
have
majestic.
taken all that work.
How does a person find their own legacy? I think the person just moves forward with what drives them, and other people see the legacy. I think a person just, is inside it. I don't think you can see your own legacy. You can maybe Google it yourself, but no, really. I mean, I don't think it's for the person to know, to be, with the eyes aware outside of what's going on with my legacy. I think you just move forward and you have a drive that for very different reasons moves you forward, and then people see that trajectory, and that's why I said he should answer, because I feel like I'm 48, but I feel like I'm at 25% of my career. I don't feel like I'm at half. I feel like I just started, so I can't talk about that.
I think basically just what he's saying is true. I mean, I don't know what's gonna be left after I'm gone. You try to do the best you can. You try to do the best you can for the right reasons. And one thing I'll tell you is that destiny is something you make. You don't inherit it. No one inherits destiny.
That was great.
You make destiny. You make it with your own choices. And those choices you make are the ones that are going to perhaps be useful for others, which is what I'm doing now in school. I'm trying to teach young people from 16 to 22 things that I went through. They ask the questions, I respond. And what good is it to have knowledge if you don't share it? You have to share it and try to make life easier for others. That's basically the way it should be. So that's basically the thing. You don't inherit, you create your destiny. You don't inherit it.
No, I can add a little something. I think it is a good idea to think, okay, what would I want my legacy to be? Because if you can't plan for that to happen, or you can't plan for that to be planted in other people's mind, but you do know what direction you should move and what kinds of things you should do to gain that objective. And something as obvious as I'd like to be remembered as someone who did something beautiful. And then, if that's your objective, and you do other stuff that's not as, not beautiful, you're not going to get there. So it is a good idea to sort of, to aim for a legacy.
Love it. Very powerful words from both of you two. And now we're going to open it up to the audience.